26 minutes past 7. Shocking is how some MLAs have described the discrepancy between the school uniform grant available in Northern Ireland and the one available in the rest of the UK. That disparity was revealed by an official at the Department of Education, which is now carrying out a review of the uniform grant.
Low-income families here can get a grant of £35.75 towards primary school uniforms and between £73 and £78 for post-primary and PE kit. Figures provided by the Department of Education show parents in England can claim up to £150 per child, between £120 and £200 in Wales and at least £120 to £150 in Scotland. So why is the sum paid here so low? And what, if anything, is being done to help those who are most in need?
Let's talk about this with the Alliance Chair of Stormont's Education Committee, Chris Little, and also Naomi McBurney, who's the co-founder of the Parent Engagement Group and a mum to two boys. Morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Chris, first of all, were you aware of this discrepancy?
We have been aware of a wide and widening difference in the grant and the cost of school uniforms in Northern Ireland for some time, but some of the emerging research continues to shock in terms of the total costs of school uniform for families across Northern Ireland. And to be fair, the Department of Education acknowledged that it is a sobering situation, but I think it needs to be made even more of an urgent priority for the Education Minister to increase that grant for low-income families that has stayed the same for over a decade, but also to take other action to address the significant costs impacting on families across Northern Ireland.
I suppose the question a lot of people will be asking is, why haven't we been jumping up and down about this?
Well, many people have. The Children's Commissioner, for example, conducted research and report in 2017, which referenced many of these unacceptable costs. The Education Committee wrote to the Education Minister previously seeking action in relation to the guidance on school uniform costs for schools, the consideration of a cap on costs, and indeed an increase in that grant. And as you've reported this morning, that has led to a review of school uniform costs. But I think, as you've also reported today, that's scheduled to take 18 months. I don't think that's a tenable prioritisation of such a serious and urgent issue impacting on the education of children in Northern Ireland.
Yeah, 18 months seems like a very long time. And Naomi, it is worth just setting out what this is like for some parents. This can put a real financial pressure on them.
Yeah, I completely agree. We have conducted considerable research. We've talked to a lot of parents and we've talked to young people as well. And they're telling us that the financial strain, it's not only having an impact in their family, but it's also impacting their mental health and well-being. And that obviously will have an impact upon the children and young people within the family as well. You know, that they're not immune to the financial pressures that their parents are facing. And it's something that we do need to urgently address.
Can I ask you about uniforms more generally, though? Because there are these suggestions that with the likes of sport kit, it has to be branded, it has to be from a certain manufacturer. Suggestions that if you're buying some uniforms, it has to come from certain shops. Do we need to look at uniforms more generally? And is that the case? Are some parents caught into buying expensive gear for their kids?
Yeah, absolutely. We have completed an extensive discussion paper around the school uniforms, looking at just in general the cost, but also looking at what they mean and what they look like. And yeah, the additional pressure of those branded PE kits, and also the general school uniform as well, is causing extensive pressure. And they are linked, unfortunately, to on many occasions the disciplinary procedures as well within the school. So we're seeing that there's a real degree of inflexibility, and that is having a very negative impact on those low-income families that are facing the financial pressure to meet the requirements of mandatory school uniform lists that do seem to be growing quite considerably year on year, with little consultation with parents and young people as to the practicalities of them, but also the affordability and offering choice as well. You know, a large number number of parents are telling us that they have to go to one or maybe two at best providers of the school uniforms, and that's not giving them the opportunity then to at times to get the best price. They can't get the clothes in the high street stores, so they're forced to pay that premium then.
And Chris Little, you talk about the pressures on Stormont budgets, and clearly there's a need to get these uniform grants looked at. But that seems relatively simple. If you have children being disciplined because their parents cannot afford the branded kind of uniform that is required by the schools, do you think that's acceptable? Should there be rules put in place that state-funded schools, ultimately that's coming from state money, should not be saying that you have to get uniforms from one manufacturer or from one type of shop?
I understand that schools and children and families are going to want access to good quality uniform and
affordable as well. Affordable is the other issue.
Essentially, it must be affordable, and no, it is completely unacceptable if any school uniform or equipment costs should be a barrier to education for any child. Completely unacceptable. This is an issue of fairness, and the Education Department does need to act urgently to address that discrepancy in the school uniform grant.
Okay, very good to talk to both of you. That's Chris Little from the Alliance Party, and also Naomi McBurney, who's the co-founder of the Parent Engagement Group.